Well, hey guys, what's going on? Cody, looks like you in here a little bit early. How you doing, buddy? Oh, guys, welcome back to Daddy Duck or In the Blind with Daddy Duck. And as always, this um, In the Blind series, this live stream, is brought to you by Salt Creek Custom Ammunition, True Lock Choke Tubes, Biscuit Built 3D, and Heyday Outdoors. Okay. Oh, how do I even begin today? Over the weekend, I had we had the grandson over the weekend, and he got over here Friday morning, and we went out and did some shooting and some working on some trail cams and training dogs and that kind of stuff. Had a really good time. And then when I got back home, um, I uh, must be the new trend, hating on corn. I don't hate corn. I just don't think it's the right thing to do, and that's what we're going to talk about. Um, so I was going through some uh, social media. I think it was on Facebook, and I saw one of the guys post that he doesn't see enough. You know, he hears everybody talking about corn ponds, corn ponds, corn ponds, but they don't talk about dry fields. You know, like um, the same way. What about the dry fields? Don't they have corn as well? Um, so, Anti, what's going on? Admit it, you hate corn. I hate corn ponds. Does that help you? Does that make you happy now? Seriously. Hey, Scott, what's going on? Yeah, I don't. I do not like. I do not like corn ponds. I don't like them. It's just that simple. Never have, never will. Have said it for years, probably a lot longer than you think. But this guy was talking about that he, he never hears enough about the actual dry cornfields that are out west. So I'm going to try tonight and try to explain to you the difference between a dry cornfield and also the difference on a corn pond. Now, we all know, or most of us should know, about what's called the daily duck use. And it is defined as the daily duck use is a way biologists and habitat managers estimate how much food is needed to support ducks. Simple. So anyway, so that's how we get there. Ducks need a, a certain amount of food every day. So that's where the DDU comes out of. So if you're thinking about it, one duck per one day, 100 ducks for one day is 100 DDUs, and 1,000 ducks per 10 days is 10,000 DDUs. This is very just simple math on the daily duck usage. Now, I broke this down into some math that I'm hoping that people can understand. It's just very simple math. And again, I'm breaking it down very simple so that we can all kind of get to understand some things. A 10-acre cornfield, the average yield, you get about 180 bushels in a 10-acre cornfield. That's about 56 pounds per bushel. That's a lot of corn in a cornfield. So 10 acres times 180 bushels is 1,800 bushels. It's very simple, very simple math. Ducks, when it comes to the DDUs, ducks will eat about 0.25 pounds per duck per day. Okay, so that's what they generally eat per day. Meaning, if the total daily duck use days are 180,000, 100,800, excuse me, pounds, divide that by 0.25, that's 403,200 daily duck use days. And you misspelled learning, anti. It's Leanin. You got to leave that, drop that R. And fishing addiction, we will get to all that in a little bit. Just hang tight. Hang tight with the rice questions. Hang tight with the flooded pinto beans, which, okay, whatever. Anyway, so a 10-acre, and I got my little notes here, guys, so just so that I don't miss anything. But 1 10-acre of standing corn could theoretically provide 403,200 ducks for one day. That's on a 10-acre cornfield. 10-acre cornfield, it'll hold that many ducks for one day. It'll hold 40,320 ducks for 10 days. And 10,000 ducks for about 40 days. That is a flooded corn pond. That's what it'll hold. And you wonder why I don't like flooded corn. Because it holds ducks. It holds them, and they do not migrate. Flooded standing corn, the characteristics, it's a concentrated food source. It's a protected food source. It's long-lasting food availability, and it's reliable feeding area. It also can hold large numbers of ducks. And we're just talking about 10 acres. Now you multiply that by thousands upon thousands upon thousands of acres, not just in the Midwest, but on the East Coast, the Atlantic Flyway, the Mississippi Flyway, then you compound all that acreage and you're holding all the ducks, and they are not migrating like they should be migrating. Potential carrying capacity. Again, 1,000 ducks, 403 days. 5,000 ducks, 80 days. 10,000 ducks, 40 days. I hear you. Now, we're going to talk about harvested cornfields. A harvested cornfield, and this all, again, is going to, the math that I have is going to actually determine how good the combine is. Today's combines are really good. They leave very little waste grain. But I've come up with a formula here. Estimated remaining grain. The typical waste grain that's left behind, again, most corn is removed from these fields after they harvest, most of it. Only the leftover is what remains. And again, there's a formula here. If it's low, which means the combine they've gotten all of it, you're probably going to have, give or take, in a 10-acre field, about 500 pounds of corn. That's all that's going to be left over, waste grain. Moderately, anywhere from 1,680 to 2,800 pounds of corn. And a heavy waste is going to run you about 5,600 pounds. And guys, just let me let you know something. If I have missed saying hello to you in the chat, please forgive me. We got a lot of information. I'm just trying to get it out there to you and answer some questions when we get done. So right now, we're going to use the moderate scale. Between 1680 and 2,800 pounds. We're going to use the 2,800 pounds. So let's just say that this 10-acre field after harvest left 2,800 pounds of corn left on the ground after harvest. You times that by 0.25% or 0.25, not percent, but just 0.25. And that's 11,200 DDUs. That's 11,200 daily duck usage days. Potentially, you could hold 1,000 ducks for about 11 days. Potentially, you could hold 5,000 ducks for 2 days, or 10,000 ducks for 1 day. And that is a harvested cornfield. Now, you got to understand on a harvested cornfield, there's a lot of things need to be taken into consideration, such as rain, flooding, rot. Well, I tell you what, Fishing Addiction, if you think this is suspicious, go do your own research. Very, very simple. Go do your own research. Look it up. Find it out yourself. It's very simple. But I can see that you're going to sit behind your computer or behind your phone and you're going to make accusations, which is fine with me. It's not going to hurt my feelings, not one bit. But if you don't believe what I'm saying, go look it up yourself. Okay? So, waste grain declines quickly due, again, to rain, flooding, rot, decomposition, fields being disc, second crop plantings, volunteer corn sprouting, deer consumption, other wildlife such as other birds, like blackbirds and stuff like that, raccoons, hogs, squirrel, whatever. A lot of that grain is going to be gone from a dry field prior to our duck seasons, prior to the duck seasons. Now, we are talking about southern duck seasons, and we're also talking about southern corn crops for right now, because we harvest our corn generally sometime in late August to early September. You still got 2 months before 2.5 months before the duck season, or a month and a half rather, before the duck season. And that corn is gone, or it has sprouted. I wish you'd make your mind up, Bougie, where you want to go. There you go. So as you can see, dry fields don't affect, because majority of that corn is already gone, and they'll stay in there for a couple days. Of course, for you guys that hunt the Midwest and hunt those dry cornfields, which I have hunted dry cornfields, I've hunted dry barley fields, I've hunted dry bean fields, and you're constantly scouting. You're going from one place to another because you know good and well you shoot at one time, the ducks aren't going to come back. They're going to go somewhere else. It may be a half a mile down the road, a mile down the road, 20 miles down the road. You never know, but that's why you're scouting constantly. On a flooded corn, those ducks are going to be there. The main reason is I would say the majority of the flooded corn is held in private lands. So you have private property, and those guys are not going to shoot the same blind twice. Not in a week, probably not in 2 weeks. They're probably going to shoot it. If they do shoot it, they're going to shoot it once a week, and that's it. Maybe twice a week if they've got enough birds hanging around. So those birds are going to get food, they're going to get water, they're going to get rest. Now, getting corn cash app. I wish. Now, let's see here. Fishing Addiction made the comment they migrate when it freezes. Well, yes, when it gets cold, when the temperatures drop, ducks migrate. We know that. However, they're only going to migrate if they don't have ample food. If they don't have food, they don't have water freezes up, they're going to move. You get a large concentration of ducks in an area, they can keep the water open. And then you have on top of that, now some people call it heated ponds. I don't like to use the word heated ponds. I like to use this ice eaters. They can keep the water open. Water can stay open. And to be quite honest, I know you've seen pictures of ducks sliding on ice into a cornfield. What is it? How hard is it for a duck to go feed on one of these flooded corn ponds, even if it's frozen, eat, and then get up and go fly somewhere to where there's open water? There's going to be open water somewhere. There's a creek, a river, a large reservoir. It's nothing for them to fly, to get up and fly, and they can fly a long way. Now, and you're right, it depends on the temperature, but if they can keep the water open, they're going to stay there. And what a lot of people don't realize, and what a lot of people have possibly have forgotten, is around December 21st is what they call the winter solstice. And biologists have already come out and said this for many, many years, that wherever a duck is on the winter solstice, unless it freezes solid, they are going to be right there. We still have cold winters. We've been having cold winters. But prior to corn being put in corn ponds the way it's being done now, ducks would migrate. It would get cold, they would migrate. They'd run out of food. They'd run out of natural foods, their natural millets, their natural vegetation. Ducks generally feed in, when I say ducks, I'm talking about puddle ducks, generally feed in anywhere from 6 to 12 inches of water. Okay? So when it gets below freezing, that's going to freeze up. They're not going to have access to filtering food. They're going to get up and they're going to fly. That's what's going to happen. They're going to get up and they're going to fly. And they're going to start migrating. With the advent of lots and lots of acreage of these corn ponds, and they are flooded anywhere to 3 to 4 foot, they're going to flood corn up to the right up to the where the first ears start, and that could be anywhere from 3 to 4 feet. That's going to take a lot of cold weather for that to freeze solid. And even if it does, if they can still get to the corn, they can get up and fly 50 miles, 100 miles to below the ice line and get open water. And if there's an open reservoir close to them, they can go there. It's very, very simple. But like I said, the guy said on his social media platform that he just doesn't hear anybody talking about dry fields. Dry fields, I'm not against dry field hunting. It's waste grain. It's a normal agricultural process. And it's waste grain, and it's not going to last. Now, I'm not a farmer, never have been, never claimed to be, but I do know when they harvest corn, especially around here in South Carolina. And again, that's late September into August is when they're going to harvest corn. I am going to assume that the northern states that have corn fields that farmers plant corn for food or for consumption, they're going to be maybe a month behind us, maybe even at around the same time. I don't know. I've never been out west when they were harvesting corn, so I really do not know. Um, and yeah, you know, a lot of snow in Canada pushed them. Yeah, Jeff, you could have 50 feet of snow in Canada, but if you go a couple states down and it's nice and warm, they're going to hang up right there. They're going to hang up right there. And if they've got food and they got water, they're not going anywhere. It's just that simple. And that is what I'm talking about. It's altering the migration. Now, if you're from the southern states, and especially here in South Carolina, and if you've hunted anywhere around the Santee Lake area, and you know of the over 200 some odd corn ponds that are around the lake, you have probably have noted, if you've been duck hunting long enough, or especially as long as I have, you have probably noted you don't see as many ducks in the swamp anymore. You don't see that many ducks on the lake as you used to see. That's because they're staying on the corn ponds. They're staying right there. They got food, they got water, they got rest. Simply put, food, water, rest. Let's get back to my notes if I can get my little thing to work here. Again, this is not simply dry cornfields versus flooded cornfields. Not at all. This is long-term concentrated food source, which is flooded corn. And it's the dry fields, the cut corn, the corn that is actually planted for human consumption or for other types of consumption for fuel or whatever else they're going to make corn out of, use corn to make out of it. It's temporary agricultural leftovers. That's all it is. Now, you also saw a mention in here about flooded rice fields. Well, let me help you out here. Don't know where you're from. I think I do, but I'm not exactly sure exactly where you're from. What about flooded rice? Okay, flooded rice. Flooded rice is usually planted sometime, or rice in general is usually planted sometime 1st of June, give or take, first week or two. Sometimes earlier, depending on where you're at, but most of the time it's around the 1st of June. It is harvested way before the duck season. Way before the duck season. So it's whatever's spilled, a waste grain, that's what's going to be there. Now, rice is grown in water, period. That's how they grow rice. They do that, number one, so they don't have to spread so much pesticide and herbicide on it. The water reduces the insects and reduces the weed growth within the rice. Once that rice is ready to harvest, they drop the water, they dry the rice out, then they harvest it. The ratoon, or the waste grain, hits the ground. A lot of it is eaten up by birds, so forth. But what's left will start to sprout again. Now, generally speaking, rice farmers do not try to get a second crop of rice. What they'll do, they'll just leave it alone. So they're not farming for ducks. They're farming for human consumption. Somebody leases their field and they put water on it. All they're doing is hunting over either waste grain or they're hunting over ratoon, which is the waste grain, which is grown back up. There's where you get your flooded rice, your flooded rice fields. A lot of farmers, especially in Louisiana, A few of them here in South Carolina and Georgia will grow rice. They will harvest that rice. And once they have harvested the rice, they'll put water back on it, and then they will set their crawfish traps because they get that second crop, which is crawfish. Do ducks eat crawfish? Sure they do. Ducks are very opportunist and they will eat crawfish. But you're not farming for crawfish. I mean, farming for ducks again when you're using rice. You're farming for human consumption. The rice and for the crawfish for human consumption. So your argument, well, what about the flooded rice, really holds no water. No pun intended, okay? It just doesn't, because you have got, it's just a normal agricultural process. You find me a farmer who farms corn and then floods it, then dries it out, and then harvests it. Find me a farmer that does that. There is none. There is none. What they're doing is they're farming for ducks. And again, it slows, it stops the migration. Now, we know this, no pun intended, no pun, P-U-N. So we know this from history. We know that corn will stop ducks from migrating. We know this from history. We've seen it in our history, yet we still continue to do it, which makes no sense to me whatsoever. To me, it's just human beings thinking they know better when all actuality they don't. Back in the 40s and 50s, they started dumping corn in some of these more northern refuges, especially in the Midwest. I believe it was around Swan Lake, National Wildlife. I believe that's the name of it. I think there was another one, and if I mess the name up, I'm sorry, guys. It's either Crab Apple or Crab Tree. I'm not exactly sure which one they call it, but they would just bring in truckloads of corn and dump it out for the geese in the winter months. And they actually had a grandstand where people could actually go to the grandstand, sit in the grandstand, and watch thousands upon thousands upon thousands of geese fly in to these refuges to eat this dumped corn. They did it, and after a while, they did it for so long that the Canada goose quit migrating southward, especially into Louisiana. And this is one of the bigger geese, one of the greater Canadas, not the Atlantic greater, but the Midwest greater. And they would quit migrating. They literally quit migrating into Louisiana. We also saw this Crab Orchard. Thank you so much. I knew, Scott, I was going to get that name wrong, and I appreciate you for correcting me. We also saw that on the Atlantic Flyway. Maryland did the same thing. Maryland was dumping out corn. The Santee National Wildlife Refuge here in South Carolina was the last wintering stop for Canada geese and for the wild Atlantic Flyway mallard. I'm not saying they have all but quit, but you know as well as I do, if you're from around here, that a lot of them, they don't migrate like they used to down here. I caught the tail end of the last of the migrating mallards. I did. I was a teenager, and I caught the tail end of it. And Maryland was, like I said, they were dumping this corn out. Well, that actually got slowed down a lot, and then we started seeing some ducks actually start to come back. And we actually started seeing some ducks starting to come back. But also about that time is when the corn ponds started coming around here in South Carolina. Along with that was the Mallard Release Program, which is a crock of crap. I mean, scientifically proven genetically inferior to the wild mallard, and it just genetically will ruin, is going to, if it hasn't already, ruin the wild mallard population, Atlantic flyway, and into the Mississippi flyway. And any other game farm ducks that have been released are just going to actually ruin our wild ducks, whether it's mallards or wood ducks or widgeon or pintails or what have you. It's actually going to ruin them. Near Marion, Illinois, home of Tim Grounds. Thank you so much, Scott. Anti, thank you so much. So as you can see, the dry fields, in my opinion, don't really matter to the big scheme of things, because it is waste grain, and it's going to be either eaten by other wildlife, finished up by ducks, or it is going to return and grow again. How many of y'all have gone by a cornfield that has been cut, and about a month later you have little stalks of corn growing up? Not even close to the duck season, right? Not even close to the duck season. So dry field hunting, it doesn't do anything. It's just make corn dry again. So HCSO, that wouldn't be oh, I know who that is. Never mind. Anyway, it just doesn't matter. The dry corn has no effect on the duck migration. Corn ponds do. We've seen it over and over and over in our history. We have seen it. People have a tendency of forgetting their history. And when people forget their history, they are doomed to repeat it. And that's what's happening right now. We are repeating a doomed institution by allowing corn ponds to thrive. It's just corn ponds and released ducks are probably the two worst things that'll ever happen to duck hunting in the United States. Not anymore. Harvest is so early anymore. We are doomed. Cody, what's going on, buddy? Took me a second. I hadn't seen that. That little picture of you in a while. So again, dry corn fields. It's not going to hurt anything. It's the corn ponds. Would you wear an MCDA hat? MCDA? I'm not exactly sure what that means, Anti. Can you elaborate? MCDA? MCDA, can you elaborate a little bit? Not sure why my handle changed, but yeah. So, with that said, any questions? I went through it kind of fast, so if you need me to go back over some of these numbers again, I will. I mean, I was sat in a cut cornmeal dove hunting on Labor Day. I have. I have. Exactly. Corn is cut, and like I said, late August, early September. Whatever grain is left is going to get eaten up by something. There may be a little bit out west. They may harvest it a little bit later. Again, some of their seasons open up earlier than ours do. Ours generally open up in November. A lot of the places out west open up in, some of them open up in September. Some of them open up in October. So there's still grain on the dry field for birds to eat. That's and it's going to get gone because once there's a hard freeze on those dry fields, a little bit of ice, a hard freeze, a little bit of ice, a little bit of snow, they can't get to that waste grain. Then they migrate. And they're going to migrate straight to a corn pond because that water is going to stay open. Make corn dry again. I got you. Yeah, I'd wear that hat. I got a hat back here that says "Make ducks migrate again." That's I got one back there somewhere back in my closet. But yeah, I'd wear that. I'd wear that anti. So we know that the corn ponds are going to stall out a migration. And I don't care how cold it gets. If they have food, water, and rest, if they can get the food, they can get the water, and they have rest, they're going to sit right there. They're going to sit right there. Now, do some move when it gets colder? Sure. Some of your non-hardier birds are going to move. Of course, they're going to move. They're going to move when it gets colder. Your blue-winged teal or one. Green-winged teal, believe it or not, are a little bit hardier. So they're going to stick around a little bit longer. Your mallards, your gadwall, your pintails, your widgeon, they're going to stick around a lot longer. And like I said, they have food, water, rest. They're not going anywhere. Some of you guys that are here in South Carolina, I know you've seen it. I don't even see the wood ducks in the swamp like I used to. It used to be you go in there and just shoot your limit quick. Boom, you're done. And it really did not matter where you went to shoot wood ducks. You just had to get somewhere close and you could shoot wood ducks. They're not coming in the swamp anymore. Are there still a lot of wood ducks here? Of course there are. I see them on my trail cam every other day. I have trail cams out and I'm watching ducks. I go in the swamp, I'm seeing ducks. We have ducks. But as soon as that food gets in that field, they leave because they know where to go and they don't have to leave. They may get shot up early in the morning and then there's no more shooting. They close it down. Those ducks go in there. They'll have 3 or 4, sometimes 5 days worth of rest before they get shot at again. They're going to continuously go to where that food is, that corn. And that is the issue. You are artificially shutting down a natural migration. That's the name of my MDCA, Make Daddy Cook Again hat. I like that. It's all about the Benjamins. Yes, it is. Oh, there he is. Now he's got his the correct handle. That's awesome, Cody. How come no? Oh, they're probably mad at me or some weird stuff. Who knows? It's like I said, when the guy who posted that on social media, he sat there and he talked about it. He said, listen, I hear all this stuff about corn ponds, whatnot, flooded corn. And he even said he didn't have a fight. He didn't have a fight in it. He's never hunted a corn pond. I have never hunted a corn pond. Regardless of what people think of me, I don't have those kind of pockets. My pockets aren't that deep. I cannot afford a corn pond or afford to lease a blind for $30,000 for 2 days out of the week. Corn should only be wet when it's in a brown bottle. I got you. I definitely do not see mallards here now, like in the late '80s and '90s. And I agree with you, Charles. And again, um, I just think that corn ponds is legalized baiting. It's legalized baiting. Um, so, any other questions on this before we hit something else? Like I said, I got numbers. If you need, Craig, what's going on? How you doing, buddy? Happy belated birthday. Uh, does concentrated food alter a migration? That's my question to you guys. What do y'all think? What do y'all think? Does concentrated food sources alter a migration? Let me know. Let me know down in the comments. What's up, Doug? And again, a lot of people, I've even been accused of this, and I want to set the record straight. A lot of people say, well, you're a public land hunter and you're just jealous of private land. Listen, if I had it, which I don't, but if I had it, it would be in a moist soil environment. I would, and I'm not talking about planting wheat or thousands of acres do. Thank you, Scott. Exactly. I think so. Warm water, an endless supply of food. Why would they want to leave? Exactly. Um, if I had my own place, and I have places that I'm allowed to hunt, and it's all in a moist soil environment. There's smartweed there, and these are on some private properties that I'm allowed to hunt, and they have smartweed in there. There's uh, what I call elephant ears. I forget the technical term for them. But they have a tuber, duck potato. They have a tuber underneath the ducks eat. There's invertebrates and all kinds of insects under there that the ducks will eat. So I'm all about a moist soil environment. And if the private lands, and see, the thing is, if they own 20, 30,000 acres of property and they had a moist soil environment, the ducks would migrate. They would come in, they would eat, they would get some shoots in, and they would get some good hunts in, and the ducks would get up and they would start to migrate south. That's what they did for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years. So why are we altering the natural migration? Why is man doing that? And I think Scott said it best. It's all about the Benjamins. Wonder why no one floods corn up my way. They don't need to, Cody. To be honest, they don't need to. I mean, honestly, they don't need to. Y'all, I've been up there, and I was up there in a bad year, from what you tell me. And there's ducks everywhere. There's ducks everywhere. They were in the dry fields, and you know, good Lord, when the good Lord puts a little bit of water on top of those dry fields, those harvested cornfields up there, that's a poor. I mean, boom! You got a little bit of waste grain they can get to. You've got invertebrate explosions. You got all that kind of stuff. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, you got it. Um, you got all that you need, all that a duck needs. Um, and again, it does get cold up there early, and those ducks push out of Canada. You're going to get those ducks, and then they're going to leave by that time your season's over with. And it's usually in the middle of the country is where these huge expanses of corn ponds are at, and along the Atlantic Flyway. Exactly what I said earlier, Craig. Ducks don't know what the swamps are anymore. Even the wood ducks go to corn ponds. They have forgotten the swamp. It's just, yeah, it's absolutely correct. It's absolutely correct. And here's, and you really want to get into, and maybe into some economics. And Scott said it's all about the Benjamins, but let's go on the other side of that, and let's talk about the money that is going to be lost if the public duck hunter can't duck hunt anymore because there's not enough ducks. They get disheartened. They decide they're going to forget about it. Screw this. I'm not going to do this anymore. Who's going to buy all the decoys? Who's going to buy all the camouflage clothing? Who's going to buy all of the duck shells, the duck calls, the duck boats? Who's going to buy the hunting license? Who's going to fund the wildlife management areas, the NWRs, the public areas? Who's going to fund that? Who? Because we fund all hunters fund all that. So if there's no more, where are we going to get the money to fund all that? How about all the mom and pop shops that are going to go under because they rely heavily on money from out-of-state hunters for gas, for snacks? Cody, how many times did I go to that little store in town to buy stuff? I didn't spend thousands of dollars or anything, but I was in there buying, stuff. It's just simple economics. Who's going to fund all that stuff? Somebody answer me. Who's going to do it? I'm serious. Who is going to fund these wildlife management areas? Who is going to fund these NWRs? If duck hunting gets to the point where people are going to stop doing it. I think over the last 20 years, I believe I read this somewhere here recently, maybe the last month or so. Over 60,000 duck hunters have quit duck hunting just in the state of Louisiana alone. Just in Louisiana. Now, you know better than that because the government ain't going to take care of that. Come on now. Let's be serious. Be serious about this for just a little bit of time. Some can't afford shells. No. Hopefully those influencers. I'm just sitting there telling you guys, I worry about things I worry about, is my grandson going to be able to duck hunt in 10 years? That loophole has to be changed or it is bad news. Yes, sir. I agree 100%. 100%. It's a loophole and it needs to be changed. And to play devil's advocate, what's going to happen to that property? If they can't plant corn anymore, what are they going to do with that property? Are they going to give up and sell that property and put Dollar Generals and suburban homes there? What's going to happen? There's a lot of questions there. I mean, there is a lot of questions, and I can see it, but I'm telling you, on a management standpoint, corn is not the way to go. It is not the way. It alters the migration. Period. There's no getting around it. It alters it. It stops it, and it could be national from flyaway to flyaway to flyaway, or even localized like it is here. I guarantee you the Atlantic Flyway is down because I've got friends in North Carolina, Craig and Charles, and they've seen less and less ducks because of impoundments, corn impoundments, things like that. What's going to happen here, guys? Uh-oh. You got on a super double secret, no posting prohibition? Huh? What? Maybe I missed something, buddy. I'm sorry if I did. buy a combine. Heck, a combine costs 5 times as much as what my house costs. Well, and I've asked the question: does concentrated food sources alter a migration? Does it hold birds longer? Does concentrated food sources hold birds longer? I'm quite sure that y'all are going to say, I know exactly what you're going to say, most of you. Hunting in Canada will be illegal soon, I'm sure. Just go to the grocery store, right? Yeah. I'd like to see that. I mean, people being forced not to be able to hunt, they're going to do it anyway. There's going to be people who are going to do it anyway. Absolutely. Yeah, Scott. I mean, absolutely. It's going to hold birds a whole lot longer. Again, food, water, rest. 3 things. That's all a duck needs. Food, water, rest. Doesn't need anything else. Doesn't need anything else. Here's another thing. Are ducks adapting to this reliable food source? We've already said it. I've seen it. I'm watching, and Craig even said the same thing. Wood ducks don't even go into swamps anymore. Again, they don't go to Sparkleberry like they're not in Sparkleberry like they used to be. Even when we had a 2-bird limit back in the day, we very rarely shot wood ducks. There were so many of them, but we just didn't shoot them because we waited on big ducks. And now, I think there was one day a couple days I went in the swamp. I think I saw a total of 6 wood ducks in the Sparkleberry swamp. 6. Actually, Grant, I don't like anything that's planted like that. That's me personally, brother. That's me personally. We're talking about corn, but I think corn is, and if I didn't say it, which I'm pretty sure I didn't, I'm using corn as very generic, as in all grains that are planted for the sole purpose of attracting waterfowl. Natural foods like smart weeds, natural millets like Sprangletop, duck potato. These are moist soil things. It's like when we were talking, me and you were talking the other night. And I was just being honest with you. I personally don't like corn. I don't like or planting anything, any type of grain. That includes planting rice for the sole purpose of harvesting waterfowl, attracting and harvesting waterfowl. If you plant it and then harvest that rice, and of course sell it at market, that's one thing. And then reflood your fields, that's one thing. It's one thing if you had a 10-acre cornfield and you harvested that corn, and let's say you had a 10-acre cornfield and you planted it in 10 acres, and you go in there, or you had a farmer go in there and plant it, and he harvested it to, let's say, sell for deer corn for some of you states that can legally bait deer and hogs. And they harvested that corn out, and you went in there and diked it up real quick and put water on it. I don't have a problem with that either. I don't have a problem with that. It's a harvested field. It was in a normal agricultural process where you grew the crop, you harvested the crop, you took the crop out of the field, and then you just put water on it. I ain't got a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that at all. That's if you have that opportunity, go for it. Again, something that's a little bit harder to explain, but let's say you had a 10-acre cornfield and you were going to harvest it, and then you had a flood, and it flooded that standing corn. Me personally, I think you got lucky. I just think you got lucky. I think you need to prove that it was naturally flooded, which wouldn't be hard. NOAA weather would probably help you with that one, but you can. I don't see a problem with hunting that because you're gonna, especially if you apply for flooding relief from the FDA. What about silage corn crop? I have seen a ton of wasted corn on silage fields. Silage fields, in my opinion, are, and I know what you're talking about, Tyler, because I have actually hunted silage fields. It's a normal agricultural process. This, in case you don't know what a silage field is basically you grow a corn crop, and you go in there and you cut it all down, and it is rolled up and taken to cattle, or you cut it down and you fence it off and you let the cattle get on it. That's a normal agricultural cattle practice. I ain't got a problem with that either. And what you're gonna find out, Grant, is stuff like duck potato. You can actually plant smartweed, but a lot of times, depending on your soil, you probably have some dormant, depending on where it's at. I'm not exactly sure where it's at, but you may even have some dormant smartweed in there. When you rough it up and let the grasses grow, you're going to get springletop grass, which is a natural millet, things like that. Exactly. Of course, Anti came out with the perfect definition, the Webster's definition. And again, millets like Japanese millet, milo, and that kind of stuff. Again, it's not natural, in my opinion. And I lump that in there with corn. I do. But here's the thing about milo and Japanese millet as well. It's not going to last long. It's really not going to last that long. Your corn, of course, is a hardier plant. It's going to last a lot longer, which will keep the ducks there longer. Your milo and your Japanese millet, thin stalk, they're not as hardy. Other birds, songbirds, of course, your ducks and geese and songbirds and stuff like that are going to get in and tear it up, and you won't have much left. But when people ask me what I think about it, I lump it all together in that grain, agricultural grain. I lump it all together. As a matter of fact, Tyler, the only time that I ever shot wood ducks in a dry field was in a silage field. And that was in Kentucky. Sure was. The only time I'd ever in my life seen wood ducks coming into a dry field. Me personally. Scott, if they don't close the loophole, there's an acreage limit would be nice. How much you could actually plant would be nice. But I'm kind of like that boy out of Texas as well. If they're going to allow it, then open it up. Open it slap up to be able to take a bag of corn out there. I'm not saying that's right. I don't agree with it, But if they're going to allow that, then they should allow this. I think I have a decent goose spot. I'm not sure about the ducks. Go back and read what you wrote through. Oh yeah, that would get abused too. Oh yeah, exactly, Tyler. And I do have friends who run cattle out of Kentucky, and they have some silage fields, and some of their best duck hunts were after they cut the silage and they fenced everything off, and they were starting to put cows on it. Duck season, they had no intention of hunting it. They were putting cows on it, and they had cattle on it, and some bad storms came up, and because of the proximity to a rising creek, they drove the cows off of it. The creek overflowed the banks, flooded that silage, and they had one of the best duck seasons ever. Bushel per boat limit. That's 56 pounds. One bushel equals out about 56 pounds of corn, give or take. And you're right. It just shows you the power of what corn will do. And again, I don't, but again, cutting a silage field is a normal agricultural process in the cattle industry. So there you go. Well, my thing is they do that, and they go in there and they'll bush hog all this corn down, and put a handful of cows, fence it off, and put a handful of cows on it, and hope for rain, or hope for a break in a dike, and let water get on top of it. I mean, they're gonna find a way. Is what I'm getting at. They're gonna find a way to circumvent it. But I've talked about this, and others have talked about it. Yes, it is a trending topic because people are pitted against one another in the ideas of corn ponds versus anything else, either pro or con against it. But it is a trending topic. There's no ifs and buts about it. And it's trending to the point where people want to watch it. People want to see it. They want to hear what others have to say about it. Cody's looking at layout boats on the internet. You gonna drag them big old things through the marsh? You could put a little. You get the right one, you could put a little longtail Go Devil on it, or longtail mud motor, some type. Anti. Oh my goodness. All right. Any other questions about tonight? Only legal on Lake of the Woods, and that ain't no marsh. Okay. Next decision will be if I want to use a layout build. Use a layout, build a blind, or buy a pit. Whew. Depends on where you're going to put your blind at. If you got a high spot in the center, I'd put a pit there. If you got a high spot in the center, I'd put a pit. That way you can shoot from both sides. You probably shoot it any wind direction. Layout boat, depending on your cover in your field, is going to determine where you're going to put your layout boat and your blind. So I live on Illinois' largest man-made lake, surrounded by agricultural. Was an absolute haven for waterfowl, and we cannot compete with flooded corn anymore. There you go, guys. You missed my question. What was your question? So if I bought a layout, would you be? So if I bought a layout boat, wait a minute, let me get it bigger where I can read it. So if I bought a layout boat, would you be okay only shooting divers? Only? That's a strong 4-letter word, buddy. That's a strong 4-letter word. But yeah, I'd go up there and shoot divers, would you? Yeah, I would. I'd go out there and hang out with you. No cutting in line for questions. Divers are an absolute riot. Yeah. You need a lot of garlic. Yeah, you do. You need a lot of garlic and bacon, and just eat bacon and garlic sandwiches. Oh gosh. But anyway, if I don't think that the guy that asked the original question, I got to get a passport. Man, shoot. Let me ask y'all a question real quick. How much influence does agriculture have on the modern migration? You need me to say that again? How much influence does agriculture have on modern migration? Because it's cheaper than renting a hotel for a week in North Dakota. Yep. I swear the waterfowl can smell fields being cut up here. Oh, I agree with you, Doug. I I think that's another thing about waterfowl that people tend to overlook is their sense of smell. And one of these live streams, I'm going to not tonight, but remind me again, Doug, because one of these things, I'm gonna I'm gonna enlighten you on a technique that was used many years ago by some old timers who, I consider myself an old timer, but I didn't use it, or did I? A technique that was used, and it was absolutely 100% deadly. A ton, but it's not just people's duck holes that they flood. The whole agricultural industry has changed. Yes, I agree. There, one of the biggest things here in the South and Southeast, South Carolina, they quit planting rice a long time ago. Rice production has gone down in Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas. They don't plant those things, especially in Louisiana and Texas. They're planting sugarcane more and more. So yeah, agriculture has a huge, huge influx on the migration. Mark Taylor, what's going on? Oh, I missed something. I'm trying to read. I'm trying to catch up reading here. Oh, we finally got rain about an hour ago. Okay. I missed what Grant had said. I was like, what in the world, Scott, are you talking about? We got 2.5 and 8 hours a day. I was like, what? Got what? All right. So I figured it out. All right, Charles, appreciate you stopping in, man. Thank you so much. Okay, guys. Well, listen, I hope that I enlighten some of you on the differences of between on the flooded cornfields, the daily duck usage versus the daily duck usage on a dry field. I know there was a lot of numbers that were thrown out there. If you have any more questions, do me a huge favor. Send me an email. All right, I'll try to answer them, or either email it back to you, or I will do it on another live stream. But for tonight, guys, we've been here over an hour. Appreciate each and every one of you. Thank y'all so much. Y'all have a great week, and we will see y'all next time on Daddy Duck 365. And don't forget, let's make ducks migrate again. See y'all next time. Bye.